Sifu Raphael is the founder and host of Heroes Rising. He's hungry, driven, and bright. He's used his skills to develop a variety of multifaceted businesses in the martial arts and fitness industry. He's also a business and mental game coach and host of the Coaching Call podcast. Heroes Rising is proud to introduce you to our exceptional co-host, E.A. Solkovitz. E.A. created, designed, invented, formulated, and reformulated over 75 products in the health and wellness industry. He is the founder of Givers University, providing increased happiness, freedom, and greatness through personal, business, social, and family development. He is also a licensed commercial pilot.
Hello, hello. And there we are. We are live. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on Heroes Rising. I am so fortunate to have two amazing people with me. Not sure what happened to my other guest, but hopefully he'll still come on. So, E.A. Solkovitz, an amazing, amazing human being, and my co-host. And we have Nancy Giere. Nancy is just beyond. I met her at a function and I knew I needed to connect with her. So welcome, you guys. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for being such a great host. And the background for our listeners, I was actually on Raphael's amazing Coaching Call podcast. And if you want to, all different kinds of coaches, and he's got just an awesome podcast. And I was fortunate enough to be on it as a guest. And then Raphael said, I want to found this Heroes Rising and do these multiple events. Would you be interested? And I said, man, I am on. Let's do it. And I was so happy I did. And it's been just such a great, and it was amazing. That was almost a year ago now already. So so thank you so much. It's really been such a blessing to be able to co-host with you, Raphael. And thank you for founding Heroes Rising.
Oh, absolutely. My pleasure. I am humbled to say that you are just an amazing human being. And it was probably one of the best choices I've made in a very long time. I'm so happy you accepted my invitation to be my co-host on Heroes Rising. EA, just anybody listening, he is not your cut-of-the-mill coach or mentor. He has had rooms of 50 presidents of companies pay him $5,000 each every month to learn from him. That's $250,000 every month for 3 days. Yes, 3 days. Could you work just 3 days for $250,000? I could. EA did it for 2 years. I broke it down. I was curious. That's $6 million, only working 72 days. Crazy, right? If you want to learn how to earn $1 million or more in a year, who better to help you? EA has done it. And today, he'll give you the 5 steps on how to do it. He is the first person to develop a profit scoring for companies based on what his mentor, Sam, taught him and what he learned from interviewing over 1,000 millionaires. Since EA has done it, he can really teach you how to do it. EA, my friend, take it away, buddy. What can I say? You are just an amazing human being.
Thank you so much. I appreciate all those kind words. And I was listening to you say those kind things. And I thought, all that list, and it's still not as long as my last name. So I better get to work. None of this part-time stuff anymore. So Raphael, thank you so much. And I look forward to sharing with our listening audience a little bit more about you and you're a fantastic individual and some of the great things you're doing, even the daily posts on LinkedIn, which I will reference. But, I was very blessed at an early age to meet a gentleman who had done it. And my mentor, Sam Robbins, I was able to meet him. And at 19 years old, I asked him, Sam, will you teach me everything? And he did. And he was a multimillionaire many times over. And it was really a blessing to have met him at such an early age and to have me accept my becoming his mentee his student, as he was teaching me, and he shared it, and I told him, I said, Sam, I want to become a millionaire. And here I am, a teenager, 19 at that point, and I'd met him a couple years earlier and was already working for him. And he's okay. You want to be a millionaire? And I said, yeah. And I said, so what do I have to do? And he said, well, I can tell you the first thing you have to do. And I said, what's that? And he said, well, you're gonna have to get $1 million. Oh, okay. I said, oh, thanks. Okay. All right. Now what? Okay. Yeah. He said, you know what's amazing about that? And I still remember him even saying this. He had like this glint in his eye. He always did. It was amazing to just even see him and experience him as a person. And he said, getting $1 million will be the easiest thing you ever do. And I'm thinking, okay. Right. He said, let me tell you what the hardest part is. And I said, well, yeah, I would like to find out. He said, believing you're worth it. And I have to share with you that was sage advice. And he taught me what I would refer to as the 5 steps. And I want to share with everyone those 5 steps, just to sort of give everyone a little bit of background, because, as my mentor again said, he said, if anyone tells you they don't want to become a millionaire, he said, I'll tell you someone else that'll lie about other things too. He said, even if they're not money motivated, that doesn't mean they couldn't use that money for spectacular, great, worthy causes. And, so when we love money, that's not good. But when we use money as a great tool, that's a powerful thing. And he taught me about these 5 steps that I'm going to share with everyone. They spell out the word giver. It's an acronym, GIVER. And the first step of that is being a giver. And I'll sort of share a little bit of how people in most instances live it backwards. And because of that, that's why the average, even in America today, the average lifetime income of a person still is not $1 million. That means if you took all their income over all of their years of working together, even today, it does not quite make $1 million. Right. And yet I watched my mentor earn $1 million in a day. Now, what's the difference? Why that? So, and he shared with me one of the most important parts about being a successful millionaire and being successful in business is to be what we call a giver. And what's interesting about a giver is that when you have the right kind of mindset, we need to condition our mind to think like a millionaire. Condition our mind. That's what most people won't do. They allow the media, they allow their friends and neighbors, well-meaning but ignorant in the truest sense, puritanically, to literally condition their mind for them instead of them conditioning their own mind. And I'll give you a good example of how it comes back to you, because when you're a giver, it comes back to you in unusual and huge ways and unexpected ways. Much like this one instance of this person who was a giver and actually helped someone become a millionaire. And after a couple of years, they had helped their friend become so wealthy, the friend felt obligated and said, I'd love to do something for you. Can I buy you a Rolls Royce? Can I buy you an airplane? Can I buy you something? And his friend said, no, I was just doing what I wanted to do. That's what givers do. We help others become successful. And I'm glad you became as prosperous as you did. He said, but I did take up golf. So I don't know. I guess, if you want to get me something, maybe, I don't know, a few clubs, maybe 3 golf clubs would be nice. And he said, and the friend said, okay, no problem. And about a month later, the friend called him back and said, well, I fulfilled your wish. I got you 3 golf clubs. And I hope you're not going to be unsatisfied, because only 2 of the golf clubs had built-in swimming pool, but all 3 clubs have 18 holes. So, so being a giver, it does come back to you, and it comes back to you in many, many ways. So I'm just going to put up a couple little slides here. So sort of bear with me as this loads in. It should be pretty fast. That was pretty fast.
Yes.
The first G in the word giver, the acronym is give. This is a critical part. It's so important. Most people stand in front of the fireplace of life and say, give me heat, and then I will put wood in you. They live it backwards, right? You have to put the kindling in first. You've got to put the wood in first. You've got to start the fire first, and usually it's small, and then you build on it. And yet most people will go through life literally thinking just that way. I need to get something out of it first. And they don't understand a critical distinction my mentor taught me that I'll share with everyone. And that is the huge difference between earning money, the difference between earning $1 million and collecting $1 million. Two totally distinct situations. Earning the million is putting the kindling and the wood in the fireplace first, and then you get the fire back. Some people always want to collect the fire first. Give me the million, pay me up front, then I'll go to work for you. And they don't realize it's backwards. And then they're surprised when they go down 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and they realize they're still just getting by after all this time. And it's because all during that duration, they did it backwards. So we have to learn that it's very important to, number one, have a giver mentality, not a taker mentality. There are people that have earned $1 million by being takers. Historically, it does not last. It's short term. To be a long-term wealthy millionaire or more. And remember when I'm talking about money here a lot, but to be more exact, with Givers University, we teach wisdom, wealth, and wellness. And wealth is not necessarily $1 million. But a lot of times people that have wealth, the million will be right along with it. So the first thing is have the giver mindset. Be willing to give first. Be willing to earn the million. That's where you put in the time and you don't get anything back. You give to others because it does come back. I can share with you. Absolutely, it does come back. All right. The second slide that we're going to talk about here is inspire. To be a millionaire, you've got to be inspired. It's very important. When I was a little kid, I remember, and probably all of you do too, there where you played hide and go seek. And if you had a really good hiding place, and then the person came around the corner and they really didn't think you were there, and you jumped out and you scared them, and you scared them so bad they scared you back. Have you and you went, boo, boo, whoa, and they scared you back, right? For that moment, you got inspired. They inspired you, right? And most people today, unfortunately, and yes, we've had some challenges time for the last 2 years, but history's been filled with challenging times. And at some point, you got to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and go back to work and say, I need to make some money. I need to get prosperous, and to reinstill hope. And being inspired is a critical part. Now, to be a millionaire, we need to be able to inspire others. It's not just about being inspired ourselves. Yes, you need to be turned on. But have you ever, and I know sometimes this stuff, just talking about it gets people choked up. Right, Raphael? No, I'm just saying. So he got choked up just even thinking about it. See, we drive the point home. That's what happens, right? You get choked up, right? So have you ever seen where someone had a dead battery, and they go over and they take these thing called jumper cables and they hook those up to the live battery, right? And then they take the two cables and put them on a dead battery. And then after a couple of minutes, it charges, regenerates, and then you can start the car with the dead battery, right? What happens if the first battery you used is a dead battery? What happens if you take those cables, put them on a dead battery, then connect it up to a dead battery? How long are you going to have to wait before that battery charges? A really long time, as in it probably never will. Why? Because you're going to end up with two dead batteries. So a leader who's going to be a millionaire has the ability to inspire others. It's about inspiring yourself, and that's the first step. You have to be inspired. You have to be the live battery. Every one of us needs to be the live battery. But then when we hook up to other batteries, we need to make sure we can charge that battery. And then what happens is now they are getting inspired. What is inspiration? Inspiration is a transference of feeling. It's not a making up of a feeling. So when you inspire someone, that means you're transferring to them your inspiration. And that's what a leader who is becoming a millionaire does. The next slide is V, which stands for vow, right? This is so important. And we see this today, I think, more than ever before. Someone was telling me the other day about this thing with the interviews they're having now called ghosting. Have you heard of that, Raphael? Where people ghost others, and where they don't show, they'll make an appointment to show up for something. They don't even show. They don't even call. They don't do anything. They're just
all the time.
Yeah. So and I guess that ghosting phenomenon, and really it's become perpetually worse and worse, almost exponentially. And it's a shame when that happens, because when someone ghosts or they don't do what they say they're going to do, like with these interviews, right? You don't ever want to talk to them again. I mean, why? Because they've already shown you the way they are. So a person who is a leader and a giver to be a millionaire is a person of great integrity. That means they're not only a person that can be counted, they're a person that can be counted upon. That means their yes means yes and their no means no. We meet a lot of people every day, don't we, where their yes means really maybe?
Yes.
And it doesn't really mean yes. And so this is this thing called integrity. And what happens is that a giver to be a millionaire begins to condition their mind and making sure that they are a person that does what they say they're going to do. Their yes means yes, their no means no. They have vows. They make vows. They view these agreements with themselves as an oath, as a vow. They when they have conversations with other people and they make an agreement with them, right? They view that as a vow or an oath. As my mentor used to share, and he said it over. I listened to him say it so many times. He would simply say these words: "My word is my bond." Boy, we don't hear enough people say that today, do we? And that and so a giver that is to be a millionaire makes vows and they live by them. Their yes means yes and their no means no. The next slide that we have here is educated wisdom. This is always a fun one. I love talking about this a little bit because, if you were to ask, are most people today, are their lives predictable? I think we'd probably say no. We would say today, if the amount of successes that people have in their lives, are those successes massive? I think we would probably say no. If we were to say that, are people's lives today exceptional? I think in most instances, we'd probably say, no, they're probably not exceptional. I think if we were to ask, are most people's lives happy? I think most people probably would not be happy and say that they're really, really happy. And if you ask, are most people free or are they living a life based on fear? I think most people would have to say, in many instances, they're living a life that's being managed by fear and not necessarily happiness. And if we asked, is their life great? I think in many instances, we would say, no, it's not great. So, what's interesting about that? If people are not having a predictive, massive, exceptional happiness, freedom, and greatness in their life, if most people are not, we could almost make an argument that if we did the opposite of most people, we would have those things because most people obviously don't have those things. And yet those are the people we listen to when we're conditioning our minds. As we get into what's the difference between a person who's educated and a person who is wise. And there's a huge difference. I can share with you personally, I've met thousands of educated idiots. And I say educated idiots because they have all this book theorem. They know they've read it in a book. They can spew it back at you at breakneck speed, but they themselves, and here's the point, they themselves have never done it. When you want to listen to someone or you want to be mentored, find someone who has done it. Don't listen to an educated idiot. So don't be afraid to ask the following question. Can I ask what you've done? Don't be afraid to ask that question. And so many people are. They're like cowardly, they're almost timid feeders in the lagoon, and they're afraid of the big shark, that says all these great things because they read them in a book. But factually, just ask them a question. Can I ask what you've done? And then you can start to think, would this be a good mentor or not? Have they done what you want to do? If not, keep looking. An educated idiot, what you're going to end up doing is paying for their education because they haven't done it. Whereas a person who is wise, like my mentor, he had done it. He had done it before we met. And because of that, I was able to ask him real questions. And here's why. A person of wisdom has done it, and they have brought with them all the things that don't work. All the temporary defeats come with them. And that's where the wisdom is. An educated idiot doesn't have those temporary defeats that came with them. So they don't have the wisdom that you can build on, right? So a person who is wise has the temporary defeats, and they can say, don't do that. Here's why. That's going to hurt. Don't do that, right? So it's very important to have, as a part of being a giver, educated wisdom. As we sort of get close to our final minute here or so, the fifth step in our presentation here, as I move that mouse over a little bit, there's the spot, right? The last one is clicking. There it is. Results. You need to have results. I watch people on social media today burn the clock, and I can almost see with the things they're putting out there that they're broke. They're hoping, maybe this next text, maybe this next thing, and they're not really quantifying, okay, how much money did I make today? How much money did I make today? I've got to pay, because the bills are going to come in. That's the funny thing about bills. They keep coming in. Even when the money's not there. You know what's funny about bills? They keep coming in. So the money better be there. So at some point, you got to say, you know what? I need to do some things that are going to make some money. So the fifth step is results. Are you quantifying as you go along? This is so critical. Quantify your results. Know what your steps are. Even the most massive, daunting tasks are accomplishable when broken down into simple, easy, daily, doable objectives. Just that simple. Break it down and then quantify their results and have the ability to adjust. As you go along, you're going to need to adjust. Two last points, and then I'll turn it over. The last two things with being a millionaire are the two critical of all of them. I went through the 5 steps, but the last two really are really important because they get into the 2 primary ingredients. Number 1, to be a millionaire, you have to have a vehicle. You have to have a way, not I mean a car or a truck. I mean, you need to have a way to do it. You need to have a way to duplicate your own efforts, or you need to have a way where you can build something that later on it can take care of you to a greater extent than you even took care of it in earlier years. So you need to have a vehicle. And number 2, you need to be trained by a mentor. Get trained by someone who has done it. Condition your mind. Not someday, someone who's already done it, and get them as a mentor. So for more information about Wisdom, Wealth, and Wellness, Givers University, you can go to our YouTube channel, just go to YouTube and type in Givers University, one word, pulls it up. Become a subscriber, and we have weekly, every single week on a Thursday or a Tuesday, we put out new 2-3 minute clips that are great information. And then also you can go to our website for Givers University, and we have a free newsletter there for people that want to have greater wisdom, wealth, and wellness from Givers University. So I share that information with all of you today with the hopes that you really sort of, and listen to it a couple times if you can. These are critical things from people that have done it, not people that have not done it. And as we go through these scenarios and we learn from our mistakes, we can then begin to teach other people as we move along. So let me I'm going to end can we end at those slides there? Do you have can you do that near there and there?
I got you, buddy.
Thank you, friend. And I'd like to bring up Nancy Giere. And Nancy has quite an interesting background. First of all, her corporate background, lifelong corporate, right? So, again, if you want to talk to someone that's tuned into what it's like to be in a corporation and what corporate life is like, you talk to someone that's done it like Nancy, right? She knows. She can see things by looking in a corporate room, I'm sure, in a boardroom. At a glance, she knows what's going on where other people don't even have a clue yet because she has lived it and she has those insights. And after 25 years, over 25 years of experience of working with, giving fresh insights, helping industry leaders, helping them sort of move aside those stones and finding those hidden gems, those secrets that are underneath those stones that no one has seen the stone to know to move it over. She knows how to do that. Worked with small companies up to Fortune 100 companies. And she does a really interesting thing that we need today. I think today people take themselves a little too serious. I think everyone's getting their underwear made over in China, and the sizes are not right. They're all too small. And so everyone's walking around with a wedgie, they're all walking around with a binder, and one of the things that Nancy does is she makes things more engaging. She makes them more fun, more interactive.
Absolutely.
And it's so important today because otherwise, you want to go to a boring meeting, and you start nodding off right after that, and Nancy teaches you how not to do that. So Nancy's got some great words and wisdom and usable content for us to share with our listeners. So Nancy, thank you so much for being on Heroes Rising.
Thank you. I'm really glad to be here today.
Yeah.
And I hope I will be humorous. It's always somebody says to say something funny and you're like, I got nothing. So,
Yeah.
well, it's interesting. I think what we've gone through in the last 2 years is that everybody with a computer can create an online course. And that's a terrific thing, but it's also a bad thing because people did not think through what they were doing. There was this rush, oh my gosh, the world is turned upside down. What am I going to do? And rush to push a lot of content online. And the end result was we have a lot of people that are selling what they're saying are online courses, and they're really just recordings of webinars.
Right.
And now, I think the market is becoming much more discerning because there's been this huge exposure to online courses more broadly than certainly what has been going on in the corporate sector, because online learning has been there for quite some time. And now we have more choices because we can leave the house again, right? It's not like, well, gee, what am I going to do today? And, spending our whole day living in these little boxes, right? Now we've got more choice and we can get out into the world again. And where the market is now is people have to be prepared to deliver online in a format like we are now. They have to be prepared to deliver in person. And the more challenging part is when you have to do both at the same time. So we've had to really up our skill set. And it's critical that you can think about, well, how am I going to keep everybody engaged and with me, no matter how you're delivering? Another observation that I had is some people that were not that great delivering training in person, it was worse when they went online. It's like, you're still reading me your slides. Thank you very much. You could have just sent me the book. So we're at this point where we want to think about what we're doing more like we're putting on a show or a performance, but it's not that we're pretending. It's not that we're acting, but it's that we're thinking about, how do I keep my audience with me? And one of the simplest steps that people can take is by putting together scene changes. So let me give you an example where this kind of big inspiration just hit me really hard.
I just think I did one.
You did a scene change, right? So exactly. Thank you. So I'm on a United flight. Here we go. Another scene change. And the only time, I don't know about you, but the only time I really pay attention to the safety briefing is if the flight attendant's like right here, and it'd be rude not to look at them. But they had done on this flight, it was a video. And every time they went through a key point, the scene changed. And it was very strategic because I definitely know how to fasten my seatbelt. So thank God for that. But the other part is the scene changes were to beautiful parts of the world that, by the way, the only way that I'd be able to get there from here is on a plane. So they were both doing the required safety briefing, the educational moment, and they were also marketing their services. So the scene changes were what held my attention. So now what I encourage people to do is to really look at how you look at your slides. So you're putting something together and it's very straightforward. So we're working in Keynote or we're working in PowerPoint, and really be intentional about when you're going to move from slide to slide to slide, and invest in graphics that truly represent the idea that you're trying to get across and are on brand for you. Because this is what's happening now is whatever we're doing, it's all about our looking at our intellectual property, and we're just talking about giving. We are giving ourselves to the world. So wouldn't you want to put your best self forward? Wouldn't you want to take the time to have a nice, very well designed template that you can plug and play all of your content into? Invest in having high quality graphics that you can use over and over. Invest in a good microphone. I have lighting. We all have nice lighting. These are things that you want to do to level everything up, and to really, it just makes a huge difference. When people put their content out there and it's done in an evergreen fashion, you're going to lose people almost immediately if your sound is bad. They may forgive if the visuals aren't that great, if the content is important to them, but if the sound is bad, they're going to be out. And I'd love to make this more conversational than just, so if there's a thought or something that what I said, prompted something in either of you, I'd welcome a question along the way here. And you're muted, which is the other thing. You think we'd know by now, but we all do this, right?
You got me, yeah. So here's the thing, right? You and I had a conversation about people putting out content that is not necessarily what they claim for it to be, right?
Yes.
And I had spoken to you about, someone told me that they were charging, I think it was $97 or $47. And they gave it to me for free. And I was like, because they wanted me to look at it and give them feedback. When I looked at it, it was a PDF, like a 3-page PDF, and they were charging for it. And I'm like, whoa, nice. How do I even come back and tell them, what are you doing? So yeah, when people put out content, it should have value, right? You don't get into a cardboard box and expect for it to drive you to the airport.
Yes.
Right. So it's the same thing with content that we are delivering. It should have value, and it should take us from point A to point B as well. Correct.
Well, that's when you're looking at putting together any type of educational content, it's all about, there's a place that you want to take people to here, that's here, and maybe they're down here. So what does it take to close that gap? And the fundamental question that I think people are missing at the beginning, and it really is where training and marketing kind of connect, in that, who do you serve? And what is the problem that you solve? And more importantly, what is it about you that makes you unique? Because, I work with several people that are in the health and wellness space, and they all have a little different spin on delivering very similar content, but yet there's aspects of them that make their spin on it unique. That's going to attract. They're going to attract different people, right? It's similar with, I've done some things with sales training. Sales is sales is sales is sales is sales. But what makes it unique for a particular niche, for a particular industry? You're solving a different type of a problem. So to just give people something that's really generic is really a disservice, when you can just spend a bit more time and go, okay, what are the objections that one business is going to come across as opposed to another? Everybody has, price always comes up all the time, but there's what are the blocks that people are going to be feeling that you need to address? So when we look at what we're doing, we want to be really focused on who it's for and what they need. And I like to have 3 other questions that kind of follow that in mind, which is, by the end of this program, what will they be able to do? What will they know that they didn't know before? And how are they going to feel? And if you have answered those questions for yourself, everything you create kind of lines up to under that. So that if new information comes in, I suffer from shiny objects syndrome just like anybody else, right? This new idea comes in, And you got to look at it and go, do you fit with my program? Yes or no. If it fits, you incorporate it. But if it doesn't fit, you save it for another event on another day. Because as experts, one of our biggest challenges is we have so much to share. And if we try to share it all, it's overwhelming to our audience. But if we can be really focused on that, what are they going to do? What are they going to know? And how are they going to feel at the end of a program? That if you just do that, you're going to be successful. If you just do that, just that.
Right. That's great information. I'd like to share something with you and then ask you a question regarding it. One of the things I've seen today, and I have to tell you, I don't like it. Going through social media, and you're scrolling through, right? I mean, because everyone does it. You're on your phone and you're going through. And all of a sudden, it seems like every second one is someone putting their face almost on my face. I mean, all you see in the whole screen is their big head staring at you. And, and there's no background. There's no nothing. There's no scene, no theme. It's like this person getting ready to yell. Or, and I think, why do you have to put your face on the whole screen? I mean, and I got to tell you, I go past those so fast. When I see that big face, and that's all I see on the screen is some big face who's supposedly going to say something important to me. And I just go right by that because, to me, I think it comes across aggressive. Yeah. And I don't think we need to be aggressive when we create value. As you mentioned, when the price always comes up, and I've proven 1,000 times to Sunday that it's about value. It's never about price. It's always been about value. Otherwise, Yugos that were the car for $4,999, everyone would be driving one. So it's not price. It's not because everyone knows that was a crapola car, right?
Yeah.
Right. So the question I have for you then is, how do you get people when you work with people, Nancy, because you do all the time, you're a master at this. How do you work with people and get them to skew away from what they fall in love with themselves, thinking that's good, to be able to focus on how can I tune in closer and have an empathy with who my target is and connection with them on that level, rather than being this aggressive face who's just going to scream this message that I'm even going to give a chance to do because I'm going to scroll by it, or just be totally off the market. Because I like the way you once said, you got to, think about who you're talking to. And I watch some of these people, clearly they're just going for eyeballs. Yeah. And I go, what the heck? Could you tell me if there's any way you could get broker faster? I don't know. You're doing a really good job. And obviously these guys are competing. So how do you do that? How do you get them to change that?
Before you answer him, I want to jump in with that, because there is another thing that is happening a lot.
What?
And I'm going to tell you, it's people who are driving and posting, and they're doing a video, and you see them, they're driving, they're like this, and then they're looking, but they're talking. So they think they're giving you a good message, but they're not focusing on the road. So when we think about doing something, when we bring value, we should focus on that. So to me, when I see somebody on Facebook or anywhere else, and they're driving and they got this important message, it's not really that important, because if it was important, they would take the time to sit in front of their phone and deliver it, not drive.
At least stop the car, for God's sakes.
Danger, right? So, there you go. I wanted to interject on that.
That's a good one. I see that all the time too, Rafi. I totally agree.
I go right.
What do you? I just think they're burning my clock. What the heck? And what the heck are you guys thinking? Obviously not.
And that people are copying all of these.
Oh, that's the big part.
That you see so much of it. That's I gotta shift it, sort of like when I was on a dating app, I had to wonder, where are these guys getting their information about how to show up here as their best selves? Because we were all in sales on that app, Well, here's what I think goes wrong.
They weren't doing good, right? Is that what you're saying? No selling going on.
I don't understand the bathroom selfie, but we can talk about that another time.
Yeah, that's where you say, if that's true, I don't know how to react. No.
Yeah, that's true. Well, here's what happens is I think people, we just start, we look at what somebody else does and we think, all right, well, that's great. And we copy it.
Yeah.
Whether or not, because you see it multiple times, doesn't mean that it's really a great way to approach it. Constantly, like, how many big giant heads before we go, all right, come on, I'm done. There's always things sort of kind of run in these different cycles. For years, people on the speaking circuit were telling the story of the starfish to the point where, okay, does everybody can't come up with another story? It's like, it's like telling the same story over and over again, or using the same expression over and over again. So the place that I start with people is, you have to, yes, you've got intellectual property, you've got great information to share, but it doesn't matter if you don't take the time to do some, very, primary market research on what does your market want and need? What does your audience want to learn from you? And really be focused there. I was looking at a document somebody put together as a one sheet the other day, and it was great, but it was missing. What it was missing was, what are you going to do for me? This is great. I see how credentialed you are, but what are you going to do for me?
Right.
And we go through and we just do work on looking at that audience and really kind of getting into, that things are go in two different directions. One is there's a problem to solve, or that there's a pain point, right? But the other is somebody going in and learning something new. And, and I see that more in the corporate setting, where there's a new process, there's a new way of doing whatever. So you have to get everybody skilled up in order to operate in a different way. And it's all, it's driving change. And sometimes the change comes from a pain point where I don't want this anymore. I need something different, and I'm going to go in a new direction. Or it's just, I want to explore something new because it excites me to look at moving in a new direction. So it all starts with that, looking at the market and really being clear on who they are and what they need. Because if you don't focus on what they need, what you produce isn't going to matter.
Yeah.
Well said.
I was having a conversation yesterday with someone, and they were helping them write a book. And they said, well, who are you writing this book for? And they said, Jane Doe. Jane Doe.
I know her.
Dead people. You're writing it for dead people. Or John Doe, right? So you're so right when you have to know who you're writing for, the content, right? What content is it for? Is it for seniors? Is it for middle age? Is it for corporate? Is it for teenagers? Who's the content for? So I agree with you 1,000% on that. Yes.
And a very successful franchise has the same type of content, but it's spun in a different way. Look at all of Jack Canfield's work in Chicken Soup. For everybody's getting soup, but it's a little different flavor depending on who you are.
Right.
So there's great ways to I think that's a great model to look at, to say, well, what's the core content, and think about, well, if I'm going to build it out for this particular group, you build it all out, and then you look at, if you have another group that you want to do work for, you go, okay, how is this group different? How do I need to change this core content to now have it work for this audience?
And what's interesting about this is that I hear it in my mind, Nancy, you keep coming back to value for the person who's receiving the information. And how do we make that a value? And then we're gonna and when there's value, and years ago, I mean, before the internet, I had a 25 page little pass out that I gave to each one of the guests on the radio show that I had. And everyone told me no one's going to read 25 pages. I said, you're not finishing the sentence. first of all, people buy books that are 200 and 300 pages all the time. I said, so you can't tell me it's the 25 pages. I said, no one's going to read 25 pages that are not interesting to them. That's true. But people are going to read 25 pages that are interesting to them. Right. So don't confuse 25 pages with value. When the value is there, they're going to pull them in. And certainly that worked as a role. So if you could as well, Nancy, such great information. You can just see that you've been around the corner, you've done it, high, and that's criteria for a mentor, someone that's done it, not someone who is, an educated idiot. So if you would, I'm going to bring up Raphael a little bit. Could you maybe put your contact information in the comments there? I think it'd be great for people who want to contact you, learn how to do that if you could. And I think you could really bring some value to those people who might be struggling in social media, might be struggling with getting their message across, because the worst thing we can all do is fall in love with our own stuff.
Yes.
And because once we do, we're no longer objective, and we're no longer tapped into the customer, because they're the ones that are writing the check. We're not writing the check. So who cares what we think? Yeah. It's about what they think.
It's about what they think and what they want.
Yeah. Exactly right. So thank you so much, Nancy.
One other thing I want to mention, if you don't mind, Nancy, I just want to let everybody know that Nancy is not there just for just coaches or whatever. She's also there to help people like corporations, big business, small business. It doesn't matter if you're a solopreneur, if you're an entrepreneur, if you are a 500, 5,000 company, she can help you guys. So reach out to her for sure.
Any content, any delivery method, I'm your girl. And for some reason, I can't type into the comments. And
do it in the private and we'll put it up for you.
Okay, thank you.
You got it.
Great. And now I'd like to bring up the amazing founder of Heroes Rising. Now, for those of you that haven't been following him, you really need to. Go to LinkedIn on Sifu Raphael, and you will see this amazing, unstoppable guy. I think he's had, you're past 222 days in a row, aren't you? I think you're
224 today.
224 today. I knew. And there's two words that I said there that maybe you didn't catch. Actually, it's 3 words. In a row. It's not 224 days. It's 224 days in a row. Now, when you set out to do something, isn't that the kind of person you listen to? Because really a mentor is a person who at the drop of a hat can show you what they know. They can show you they know how to do it. And they're never afraid to answer that question, what have you done? Because they can quickly show it. In fact, most people, when they meet Raphael, don't even ask what you've done, because they probably found out about him by watching him do something. And, that's what's extraordinary. And I can share with you, I've really been impressed by this man. To watch what he's done in our year together since he reached out to me. And I'm so thankful he did, because I've watched this revelation of amazing persistence and consistency. And every time I see him do these workouts that are like less than 10 minutes and 3 or 4 different exercises, it's actually extraordinary, because you think, there's so many people today that just had another excuse on why they shouldn't do it today. They bought into another reason why they shouldn't do it. Oh, this sort of hurts, or I'm a little tired, or I didn't get a good night's sleep, or whatever the instance was. And no matter what, Raphael's got his why in place, and he does it. So that's why, because what you're seeing when you see those daily things on LinkedIn, you're actually seeing a manifestation of his thought process. He's a mind coach. That's one of the things he does. And his mind game, you can tell, is in place because you watch him do it. It's not someone that says, a lot of people say, well, you got to work on yourself first, then you can work on other people. And, and all these things. Like, I love when Nancy said the starfish story. I got to tell you, I was on the beach one time. I saw a starfish. I almost picked it up and just buried it in the sand. I was so tired of hearing that story. I thought, oh my God.
I'm not saving you. Sorry.
Yeah. How about that one? Huh? How about that? Just kidding. All right. So the point of it is that Raphael is a mind game coach, and all the things look at your results. If you're not getting the results you want, that means you need to learn something different, or you need to do something different. That's it. There's no other secret. Those are the 2 things. Learn something different, and do something different. Raphael specializes in doing that. He has all these coaches that are on his coaching call podcast. If you haven't listened to it, listen to it, follow it, because he has coaches from fitness and sports and martial arts and mindset and relationship and leadership. And that's why he calls it coaching call, because it's about these calls of all different kinds of coaches. So from one episode to the next is going to be totally different information. So I have to share with you, I'm totally impressed with Raphael and what he has done. And my associate, Rick Hughes, speaks so highly of him and just thinks the world of Raphael, because he's a doer.
Mhm.
And you want to surround yourself with doers, not some-a-dayers. You know what a some-a-dayer is? I'm going to do it some-a-day. I'm going to do it
You
some-a-day.
doing?
Some-a-day, I'll get around to it. Some-a-day,
Sounds like
Raphael
my
is,
family.
Raphael is, let's do it now. Let's get it done. And he's a great personal friend, and I really appreciate him. And Raphael, please share with some of the amazing things that you want to share with everyone as it relates to how to achieve more in business and family and in life.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I always, after you introduce me, I always feel so obligated to get my checkbook out and send you a check. What's the address again?
That's great.
I'm going to share with you guys my face. So here it is. That's me. So I figure we start there, right?
Yeah.
So listen, EA, thank you so much. You're an exceptional co-host. Let me touch briefly on several things that will allow you to achieve more in business, family, and life. I do have a question for you, though, and you guys can answer it. What is your superpower? If you're not sure, let me help you. It should be your faith. Your faith should be your superpower. You need to believe in yourself, and all things will become possible. Napoleon Hill states it. Faith removes limitations. Let me read that again. Faith removes limitations. That's a very powerful statement. Only you can put limitations on yourself. All things are possible to those who believe. Let's talk about love for a second, right? I always try to lead with my heart. I ask you to love without limitations. Who does that? Dogs. And Nancy and I were talking before about her dog, and I'm happy that your dog is doing better. But dogs love without hesitation, limitation. A dog will never greet you with anything but love. My God, they're like thrilled that you showed up, that you came home, and they only saw you like an hour ago, and they're like, oh my God, you're here. So dogs, we need to learn from dogs, from the pets, right? So this is what we need to do. Be happy anytime you meet anyone. It doesn't matter who. You will brighten up their day with your smile. Lead with your heart. Your heart may get hurt along the way, but you'll be the happiest person on the last day of your life. Because when you lead with your heart and you lead with that emotion of love, nothing can damage it. Let me ask you, when was the last time you learned something that was tough to learn? Nancy can even teach you how to learn how to create a program, how to create a structure for a lesson. If you're a coach, if you're a business, she can help you with that. When was the last time you did something, you learned something, and then it became second nature? Like learning how to ride a bike or learning how to swim. The more you do it, the better you get at it. I remember my first time I attempted to ride a bike. I was 8 years old. I was by myself. No instructions. I don't even think it was my bike. I didn't even know how to turn or stop. Don't do what I did. I learned how to stop really quick. And then I got up because the brick wall did not move. I did not know how to turn away from the brick wall. I did not know how to apply the brakes. I just kept pedaling into the brick wall, hit me in the face. So bloody, I got up, I got back on, and eventually I became a pro. Giving up was not an option. I have so many stories I can share with you on how I could have become a quitter, but I chose to win instead. So communication is a skill we all learned as kids, right? Our parents taught us how to talk. Our teachers taught us how to put out our words together and so forth. What you do with that skill is up to you. You can use it to your advantage. That's a win. Consider how you communicate. It should be clear and concise. The most important communication you can ever do is with yourself. The way you communicate with others will depend on the way you communicate with yourself. Life is very complicated. Don't you agree? Don't add to it. Simplify everything you do. Focus on one thing at a time to have success with that one thing. Listen, we all are faced with problems. Don't handle them all. Solve one at a time. Give that one problem the energy it deserves. Planning on problems can solve them even before they show up. I'm talking about future pacing all expectations. Don't ask them if they're coming to dinner. Ask them what kind of wine they like for dinner. EA, what's your favorite wine? Oh, yeah, he's not
Well,
there.
I'm back now. I'm sorry. I went to go have a drink. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Couldn't pass it up. Right? Couldn't pass it up.
Straight
Well,
up.
I got to tell you, I don't drink anymore. But in years past, I went from like in my early 20s, it was a vodka gimlet. Then it went to a screwdriver. Then it went to red wine. Then it went to white wine, and then it went to like a spritzer. And now sometimes I'll be in my car and I'll just drive by a liquor store. That's about it. So I don't have it now, but I can share with you that, and I want to digress for a minute, by the way, because I know there was a reason you asked that question. So I'm not a wine drinker per se or alcohol drinker,
Right.
But I can share with you that you must have done something different. Because see, my father, when I was learning how to ride a bike, he put training wheels on the front wheels and the back wheels. And I want to let you know that was tough when you had to really lean into the corners, because when you had training wheels on the front of the wheels as well. So I still hit brick walls. What was funny about that, so I just wanted to share that with you.
This was my training wheels right here.
That's
I shared with you
the indentation there. So
that's
it. So anyway, I'm not much of an alcohol drinker certainly at this point in my life, and what can I say?
No, that's listen, you went from different drinks to healthy, and that's what I drink. I drink healthy because you know what? I value my body. I value this gift that was given to me. So, let me share with you guys a couple of other things, right? So solving a problem, right, is future pacing. So we don't ask somebody when we invite somebody to dinner, they said they're coming, and then you don't call to confirm, hey, you coming? No, you know what you do? Say, what would you like with dinner? Would you like, this type of drink, that type of drink? Do you like mashed potatoes or, different potatoes or whatever it is, right? So it's how you handle things, right? And then let me ask you something is how do you handle time management? I suggest you schedule you. Otherwise, other people are going to schedule you and you will wonder why your life turned out the way it did. That's where planning comes into play. Plan, 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 and plan some more. Plans change constantly. Adapt, and you'll still lead an amazing life. I love this quote by Bruce Lee. Knowing is not enough. We must apply. Willing is not enough. We must do. Oh, yeah. We must do. I was reading an article and they asked people in their deathbed what their regrets were. One of the top 5 regrets people have is that they said not living the life they dreamt of. Don't live a life with regrets. Start living today. Don't live thinking that, oh, I can't be rich, I can't do this. You can live an abundant life. Being rich is not necessarily about money. It's about living a life full of joy and happiness. Let me ask you, what's a cemetery full of?
I don't know, but I know people are dying to get in there.
They are. Let me share with you. Let me share with you. It's full of dead dreams.
That part's true.
Don't just dream, right? Don't just dream. Make your dreams a reality. And don't think big. Think bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Don't put a limit on your dreams ever. Opportunities come in all shapes and sizes. It's important to know which ones to accept and which ones to pass on. Learn to say no so you can say yes to those things that are important, and vice versa. Some things you have to say yes to because they're just so amazing. Here's the thing, get rid of negative thoughts. I'll never have that body. I'll never get that house. I won't have that car. Interject whatever you like, and all you get is negative thoughts bombarding your inner peace and future growth. You need to have a growth mindset. Instead of saying, I can't afford it, say, I don't have the money yet. Don't say, I will never get in shape. Say, I'm not in the shape I want to be in yet. The key word is yet. Ask yourself the tough questions. I mean, really tough questions. What do I need to do to change within me to be fulfilled once and for all? What are you willing to give up to live your best life? How far are you willing to go to have it? I love the concept of YOLO. YOLO for me stands for you only live once. Make it amazing. And then I have one more question for you guys. Do you use mantras to psych yourself out or to psych yourself into doing things? I leave you with this personal mantra that I use when I show up anywhere. And this is it. Wherever I go, everyone feels safe. Wherever I go, anyone in need has a friend in me. Wherever I go, everyone is happy to see me. Wherever I go, I give. Wherever I go is where I belong. I want to thank you guys for allowing me to share with you my beliefs, my thoughts of what you can do to have a great life, both in business, family, and life.
Wow, what great information. And Raphael, if you could please put in a comments there about how everyone could reach you. I realized, you asked me a question and I only told you that what I didn't like as a drink. I didn't say what I liked. And you asked me what was my favorite drink. So
you put alcohol.
So
Alcohol.
So I thought alcohol. I don't know why, I don't know why I went there. But now, as far as favorite drink, I can share with you something that Givers University is bringing out in a matter of weeks, as a matter of fact.
Yes.
Yeah, it's called Giver water, and it is a flavored water. It comes in a stick, and you'll be able to put it in water. But here's the best part: not only is it knock your socks off taste, you never have to take any vitamin pills again. It's all built right into a little stick that you put right in water. And, orange, the orange tastes better than Sunny D, which is nothing more than sugar-coated bologna, for kids that they're giving. The orange is great. And the mixed berry is fantastic. And literally never have to buy vitamins that no one likes taking anyway. I've always been astonished by that. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry built on a habit that no one likes doing. I've never seen a person say, I can't wait to get up, take that fistful of pills, So, and not to mention they're getting very little benefit and it's expensive pee-pee on top of it. So, so to build it all in. So that is my favorite water is Giere water, and my favorite drink for sure coming out. I wanted to mention
what? And I have to interject.
Yeah.
I've had it and I got to tell you, the taste is exceptional. And the way you feel after you drink it, it's like, wow. It's like, I feel like Popeye without the spinach, but with Giver water. So thank you, EA.
Yeah, you're welcome. And thank you for that, mention that. And we have an exciting event coming up on the 26th. August 26th is the next Heroes event. And that's Dustin Reichman is going to be talking about partnership marketing. And Michael Harris is going to be talking about everyday law of attraction. And that's noon. We like to do these during lunchtime. That's when Raphael thought it would be great to make it a lunch and learn for people because, but a great way to, we're now filling our bodies with hopefully healthy food, but also to fill our minds with good information. And so that's August 26th will be the next Heroes Rising event. And Nancy, thank you so much, Nancy Giere, for being on and sharing this great information. You can contact her it was just posted in the comments there. Touch base with her, start following her, talk with her, build a connection and see where it can go. And of course, Raphael, thank you for being such an amazing co-host, and thank you for having me on co-hosting with you, and for being such an amazing leader. Raphael, he does say, one of the first things you want to do is start with yourself, and then we can change others. And he's out to change the world. It's not just about one or two people or a couple of people or his own circle. He wants to do things that are much bigger, much more grandiose, and to have a wonderful legacy where he really, really helped other people as a giver. So that's awesome. Thank you so much, Raphael. And for our listeners, thank you. And I'll just leave one thought with you, and that is as follows. And it's a poem I like to share. I memorized it because the first time I read it, it had such an impact on me. So, even though we're a couple minutes over, I'll share it because I think it's worthwhile for everyone.
And I have to jump.
Okay, jump.
Thank you so much, gentlemen.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Nancy, thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
And as the poem for parting for everyone is, I bargained with life for a penny, and life would pay no more. However, I begged at evening when I counted my scanty store. For life is a just employer. It'll give you what you ask. But once you've set the wages, you must bear the task. I worked for a menial's hire, only to learn, dismayed, that any wage I would have asked of life, life would have willingly paid. Be mentored by people like Sifu Raphael and watch how your life comes together. Thank you, Sifu Raphael. You are an awesome leader.
Thank you, EA, and you're an amazing, amazing human being. And anybody, listen, if you got value, please share this with other people. Let them rewatch it, and maybe you can rewatch it. Take notes. I know, it's so great. I know I'll be rewatching it myself. Thank you, everybody. And as EA always says, I'm going to take it away from him. Have your best day ever. Thank you, everybody.